at some more trees and their buds and see what's happening with their buds. There's something big happening with some of these buds. So the transformation of street trees is happening, and we'll see where there are leaves coming out and where there are flowers coming out. Every tree is in a different state this time of year, so it's kind of cool because some of them are like still closed up, still protecting their growing tip, and some are like, here I am. So here's a magnolia tree, and this one's opened up a lot. Magnolia is so cool because, like the ginkgo, it's this ancient tree. It's a living fossil, and the white petals are attractive to beetles. So before bees existed, beetles were one of the pollinators. They still are, and they were attracted to magnolia. So the evolution of flowers and the evolution of insects kind of goes hand in hand, and the color of petals and the form of the flowers. Some of the flowers that have already opened, they're pretty open and flat, so that works for a large pollinator like a beetle. And then you can see the flower parts also. You can see in the center, that's where the female parts are, and then there's male parts around. So this is one of those hermaphroditic kind of flowers. Sometimes they call them perfect flowers. They have male and female parts. So trees have wonderful gender fluidity and inclusivity, male and female parts in one flower. Some trees have male and female flowers separate but in the same tree. Some trees have just male or just female. The ginkgo, for example, has either male flowers or female flowers in one tree. So a tree is either male or female, but that's the least common thing for a tree to do. Most trees have both male and female. So you could call them, we call them it usually, but you could call them they. So you could say that some trees are she and some trees are he, but those are the minority. Most trees are they. And this is the magnolia. Here's the magnolia buds, and this one, the bud scales are just opening up. I'm not gonna pull them back because I wanna let the tree have its protection as long as it wants to have its protection. So you can see how the furriness is part of the protection for the growing tip of this tree, and we'll see whether it's a flower or a leaf. You can take your own guesses about the different buds and whether there'll be flowers or leaves. So this is an elm tree, and you can see the flowers that actually some of them may have gotten pollinated already, may already be becoming fruits. And you see that the bud scales at the base have opened up. That's where all these flowers have come from. We'll see what happens next. And elms are one of those hermaphroditic kind of trees. So they have flowers that are both male and female. So elm is a both male and female tree. So this is a red maple, and you can see, if you get really close, you might be able to see those parts coming out. Those are the pistils, the female part of the flower. You can see the bud scales at the base, and red maple isn't the only tree that does this. They have some flowers that are female, some that are male, and some that are both. So you can't always see all of the flower parts, but these you can see the female parts, the pistils, those two little things coming out of the flowers. So this is cool. This is an ash that is in bloom that wasn't in bloom before. See those little white parts of the flowers coming out, and some buds that haven't opened yet. So these are all flower buds that have opened up, and then I wonder about the buds that haven't opened up yet. So this is ash. This is the linden tree. The red, kind of reddish color to the buds is one distinct distinguishing characteristic. And another distinguishing characteristic is the fact that it is sprouting from the base of the tree. That's really common with linden. Other trees do it sometimes, especially if they're kind of stressed out, but linden does it a lot. So here's the ginkgo, and you can see those round buds, and there's the brown part that are the bud scales that we're protecting the new growth, and then you can see the green just coming out. This is a sweet gum tree. So this is what a sweet gum bud looks like when it's just coming out in spring. So this has changed quite a bit, this bud. You can see the bud scales at the base, and then the bud is much, much larger because it started to open up. You can see the green, and there's this kind of fuzzy brownish color on the tip. So the bud scales do protect the buds, but even after they open up, there's still some things that will help protect the growing tip. And that could be sometimes fur, that could be sticky substances that if an insect was trying to eat it, they would get stuck. That could be wax, all different things. So the bud scales have some of that wax and stickiness sometimes, but some plants, some trees have other protective measures while the growing tip is developing. So take a look at the size of that bud. Huge buds. The bud scales have opened up, and we looked at this bud before. I don't know if this looks familiar to you. It's kind of larger now because it's opened up more, but they do have, this tree has very large buds. It's a horse chestnut tree. And there is a little bit of kind of like sticky waxiness to the buds. And again, when there's a really large bud, probably means there's either going to be a big flower or big leaves. And we'll take a look at this later. You can still see the scars from where the leaves fell before. That's also a good clue to how large the leaves are if you see a big leaf scar. And you can see the growth rings. That's 1 year of growth. So some years there's more growth than others. The red maple again, and you can see those pistils coming out, kind of like antenna coming out the sides. So the pistils are receiving pollen from male stamens, sometimes, hopefully, on another flower, hopefully from another tree. And some flowers have, when they have male and female parts on the same flower, sometimes the female parts are ready, receptive at a different time from when the male parts are putting out their pollen, so that they are trying not to self-pollinate because they want diversity, they want genetic diversity, so that they'll have a viable seed. Some buds are still closed up, and you can see the bud scales still protecting that growing